Oh, hi, and welcome to A Late Show. I'm your host, Stephen Colbert. Happy Cinco de Mayo to all my Mexican, Mexican-American, and Mexicurious viewers. I just want to say, have a wonderful day in Spanish. Cinco de Mayo is really handy this year because it's the first time I've been sure of the date in 2 months. Thanks to Cinco de Mayo, I know it's the Cinco of Mayo. But this tweet I posted last Cinco de Mayo has not aged well. Happy Cinco de Mayo 2019. I can't wait to go to a crowded bar and get some Corona in me. Oh, big news from the endangered world of listening to scientists, because we learned today that the White House plans to wind down the coronavirus task force. No, don't do that. We still need them. This would be like if Apollo 13 went like this.
Houston, we have a problem.
Roger, Apollo 13. We're going to start winding down mission control. Bye, Felicia.
When Trump said as the weather gets warmer, it would miraculously go away, I didn't know he meant our response. Now, so far, the information is a little murky because officials say the task force's gradual demise might never be formally announced. So we might not ever really know what happened to the group that was supposed to let us know what was really happening? How will we find out? Do we need a coronavirus task force? Of course, the warning signs on the task force have been there for a while. Trump has stopped linking his news briefings on the virus to the task force meetings and no longer routinely arrays task force members around him in his public appearances. Yes, because the reason no one trusted those briefings was everybody else. Hey guys, I'm breaking up the band. From now on, it's just going to be the guy everyone is there to see, President Ringo. Privately, Trump's advisors have been telling him that talking about the health implications of this virus is politically risky. So instead, the focus will now be on therapeutics, vaccine development, and testing. Basically, it looks like Trump's going to try to declare victory over the coronavirus before the election. And if that's true, he's going to want to go down to the basement of the White House and dig out a gently used banner. But he's going to want to make one small change. And the task force aren't the only experts he's ignored. We now have more evidence, thanks to someone he fired, former director of the Biomedical Advanced Research and Development Authority and special agent in a TNT crime drama that's somehow been on for 9 seasons, Dr. Rick Bright. Now, despite being an expert in his field, which again is vaccine development, Bright was ousted from his job earlier this year after he refused to toe the White House line on coronavirus. Today, Bright filed an extensive whistleblower complaint. Now, Bright says he tried to sound the alarm about COVID-19 back in January, but was met with indifference, which then developed into hostility. Or as they call it in the White House, the full Melania. The complaint goes on. It was obvious that Dr. Bright's persistent demands for urgent action to respond to the pandemic had caused a storm and were unwelcome in the office of the HHS secretary. You see, during that time, the White House was trying desperately to play down the storm, saying it was nothing more than seasonal turd showers. Bright also pushed back on administration cronyism, saying he resisted efforts to extend a contract with a company whose CEO, he was told, was a friend of Jared Kushner. Well, I'm not sure that one checks out. I find it hard to believe that Jared Kushner has friends. Now, we're in week 8 of the quarantine, and Trump is anxious to get the economy moving again, as he explained in today's rare quarantine edition of Chopper Talk. Trump was on his way to tour a Honeywell aerospace factory in Arizona that's making N95 masks, and he was pretty excited.
Hello, everybody. So I'm leaving for Arizona. We're going to be at the Honeywell plant, which is doing great work for us. And it'll be, I think, a great day.
Wow, that's a pretty optimistic tone. But then again, Trump has always seen the glass as half full of bleach. Now, given Mike Pence's mask-free Mayo Clinic debacle, reporters were eager to know whether Trump would be wearing one.
If it's a mask facility, I will.
Well, of course, you wouldn't want to wear a mask somewhere stupid like a hospital. I'll only wear a mask if it's a mask facility. Same way I only eat cheesecake at the Cheesecake Factory, and I only take a bath at Bed Bath & Beyond. Trump was then asked whether it was right to open the country when new projections show tens of thousands more fatalities.
Look, models have been very inaccurate. I've seen models that are very inaccurate.
It's true, he's seen models that were very inaccurate. He could have sworn they were 18. The question of how soon we should reopen the economy is a tough one, as explained by current top government epidemiologist and former microscope zaddy, Dr. Anthony Fauci.
How do you combat people's willingness to accept more cases, to accept even more death?
Well, you know, it's the balance of something that's a very difficult choice. Like, how many deaths and how much suffering are you willing to accept to get back to what you want to be some form of normality sooner rather than later?
It's an age-old idea once posed by Nathan Hale. I regret that you have but one life to give so I can go bowling. Woo! Mark it! It seems really doubtful that we can reopen the economy this soon and keep the disaster under control. But of course, anyone who's seen Donald Trump knows he always wants to have his cake and grope it too. Because even though Trump made a big deal about releasing his own social distancing guidelines, he now shows no problem with states that ignore them. Just like Moses coming down the mountain and crying, "Behold these 10 commandments." But if you really want to get the economy humming, I hear golden calves are a big ticket item. The one man who agrees with the president is former New Jersey governor and closest I'll ever have to an Ed McMahon, Christie. Christie says we have a patriotic duty to get the economy moving again.
The message is that the American people have gone through significant death before. We've gone through it in World War I. We've gone through it in World War II. We have gone through it, and we've survived it. We sacrificed those lives.
Yes. Shopping during a pandemic is exactly like fighting Hitler. I'm sure years from now our sacrifice will be immortalized in the movie Saving Private Ryan, 20% on select items. And it's not just people you've heard of taking a stand. There's also Ohio State Representative and Joseph A. Blankstare, Nino Vitali. Last week, Ohio's governor recommended that all Ohioans wear a mask in public to prevent the spread of coronavirus. But yesterday, Vitali said that he refuses to wear a mask because God created humans without one. Okay. Adam and Eve didn't wear masks, but they also didn't wear pants. So I'm calling BS until Nino holds a press conference like this. Vitali thinks the face is uniquely godly, explaining, when we think about the image and likeness of God, do we think of a chest or our legs or our arms? We think of a face. Yes, we do. And it's Morgan Freeman's. Vitali wrapped it up saying, of the face, that's the image of God right there, and I want to see it in my brothers and sisters. Classic good guy statement. I want to look you in the eyes while I kill you. Now, there's one politician out there fighting back against this rush to open the economy. New York governor and vampire seeing the sunrise one last time before bursting into flames, Andrew Cuomo. At his daily press briefing, Cuomo challenged the idea that we should sacrifice people's lives for the economy.
The fundamental question, which we're not articulating, is how much is a human life worth? That's the real discussion that no one is admitting openly or freely, but we should. To me, I say cost of a human life is priceless, period.
I gotta say, that's a refreshing contrast to Trump's position. A human life is worth about one trip to Buffalo Wild Wings. Oh, and there's good news for people who've always wanted to suffer at sea, because Carnival Cruise Lines plans to sail again starting in August. That is insane. Going on a cruise right now would be the worst idea for a boat trip since Boat Trip. And there's big news out of Italy, aka Europe's Florida. Italy is one of the countries hardest hit by the pandemic, but as of Monday, millions of people are returning to work in Italy after weeks in lockdown. Finally, Italians can get back to work making pizza, preparing tax forms, performing open heart surgery. That's a spicy malpractice. Italy's prime minister says Italians are now free to visit people with whom they enjoy stable affection, which may include lovers. Of course, for lonely Italian farmers, stable affection means something totally different. Oh, Trump recently took an hour out of his busy schedule during the pandemic to sit down with the New York Post and announce that he may skip the Correspondents' dinner. That is breaking news because Donald Trump is not a guy who usually skips dinner. Trump claims he won't return until the media starts treating him fairly and claims he had a good time back in 2011, but he had some harsh words for one former host. Seth Meyers, he was nasty. Just one joke. The guy's got no talent whatsoever. Zero. It's nice to know that Trump is staying laser focused on the ball during a crisis. It reminds me of FDR.
December 7th, 1941, a date that will live in infamy because Groucho Marx is a no-talent hack. I'm a Three Stooges man. Woo, 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 woo.
Trump went on, how do these guys get jobs? I don't get it. How does a Seth Meyers, how does Colbert, has no talent, there's nothing funny about him, nothing funny. You look at some of these people and you say, how do they get a job? Well, I can't speak for Seth. He's very talented. But I'm an idiot. And the only reason I have this job is because I married the daughter of Donald CBS. And for some reason, he keeps putting me in charge of everything. We've got a great show for you tonight. I'll be talking to Stephen King, and we'll have a performance by Sheryl Crow. But when we come back, meanwhile, join us, won't you?